What's up, guys, and welcome back to the channel. My name's Cooper and this is the Hunt by Coop YouTube channel. This video is going to be about 3 decoy spreads that I use and I've found most effective over my years of experience to kill those birds. So guys, sit back and check it out. Guys, as you know from following the channel, I hunt a lot in Alabama, predominantly the Tennessee River. It's where I grew up and that's where I do a lot of my hunting. Hunting the Tennessee River makes for a lot of unique hunting situations. Like you could be hunting a slough one day, you could be hunting a swamp the next, or you could be hunting big vast water in the main river channel. And these are going to be decoy spreads that I use across all 3, just versatile decoy spreads that I've found to be able to help me kill more birds over the years. Let's dive in. Before we throw out our decoys, I want to discuss 3 factors that are going to be crucial in your success of hunting before even you get to the decoy spreads. Okay, number 1 is going to be the scout. We have to find birds. It doesn't matter what your decoy spread looks like. If you don't have birds, if you don't know where the birds are, chances are you may not have a very good hunt regardless of the decoy spread. And then number 2, what I'm looking at is wind. I'm looking at wind all the time. Obviously, you want to have the wind at your back, but that's not always going to be the case. Today, we're going to discuss how you can hunt crosswinds and even winds in your face, but predominantly we want the wind at our back. Sometimes we can't always achieve this, whether there's hunting pressure, there's somebody at the spot you were going to go to, or maybe the wind changed overnight, water level rose. There's a bunch of different reasons as to why we may not be able to hunt perfect conditions, but ideally we want to hunt the wind to our back. So let's talk about what I do when I have my wind at my back. The most common decoy spread that I throw is going to be the U-shaped decoy spread, what I call the U-shape, okay? It's physically in the shape of a U, and it's perfect for hunting those situations where you have the wind at your back, okay? As you guys know, ducks like to land into the wind. So with this U-shaped decoy spread, with the wind at your back, it makes the kill zone right in front of you guys. A lot of times we've got our buddies with us. We're either in the boat or in the blind. It may be a tight situation. It's ideal to get those birds to land in front of you so everybody can jump up and shoot straight instead of shooting cross and things like that. And this is a great situation to do that in. Now, the way it's laid out here, as you guys are seeing, is I've got decoys to the right, decoys to the left in the shape of a U, and then I've got a pod in the front in the bend of the U, and that bend of the U is probably 10 or 15 yards. You want to make it a comfortable shot just in case those birds land a little long. One thing this is going to do for you is it's going to funnel those birds into the decoy spread. Like I said, it's going to those birds are going to circle and they're going to come in, and then they're going to be cut off by the bend of the U, and they're going to want to land right in the center of the decoy spread, which would be ideal for you and your shooting situation. One thing I like to add to this spread is motion. The top 2 motions that I use is probably going to be, it's going to be the jerk string. Okay, I don't like to put my jerk string in the middle of the hole. A lot of people that are going to tell you they like to put it in the middle of the hole. I don't necessarily do that. I feel like it clouds up that hole. I found that the bigger the hole is, sometimes the better, especially with finicky birds. So what I do is I put the jerk string down the right or the left down the edge of the U there. So what I'm doing is, as those birds are circling, I'm jerking that string and they're seeing motion. And so as they're circling, number 1, it gets their attention on the decoy spread. But more importantly, it gets their attention off of you. So maybe it's you have no wind, it's just a flat, calm day, and you need motion in that decoy spread. Or maybe it's extremely windy, but we're trying to get motion away from the blind because maybe we don't have a good enough hide. That's what I like to do, is run that jerk string down the right or the left side, depending on kind of which way the wind's going. As we're pulling that jerk string, we're taking the duck's attention away from us and onto the decoy spread, which is ideal. The second thing I like to do is I'll put a spinning wing decoy out there. I like to use Lucky Duck decoys, but even Mojos and some of these others, they have a white side and then a painted side on the wings. So what this does is it gets their attention from a long way away. Now obviously the Mojo decoy is not ideal in all situations, whether it's sunny or windy or cloudy or the birds are finicky or the birds have seen a lot of them. Sometimes it can do more harm than good. A lot of times the first thing to go, if I'm having a situation trying to get birds in, is to pull that mojo out of the spread. It does flare birds sometimes. But anyway, when you get the situations right and that wing is flashing from dark to light, it gets those birds' attention from a long way out. It's gonna pull them in close enough to where they'll hear your duck call, they'll see your jerk string, they'll see your agitators, and they say, okay, this looks kind of real. And you can tell when they're circling, when they're interested. You'll see them banking and their necks will be down looking. See this a lot with geese too. But that's how they show they're interested. When you get that situation, you know, chances are you're gonna be able to get a shot at those birds. I think one of the beauties of the U-shaped decoy spread is its simplicity. One thing I like to do is I'll do about 2 to 3 to 4 dozen decoys. If I'm doing a U-shaped spread, I'm not gonna carry a whole boat full of decoys. That's another reason why I like it. I carry 1 or 2 dozen of big decoys and then 2 dozen of what I call filler decoys, which are just smaller decoys, and I mix up mallards and gadwalls and stuff. This is more of a puddle duck situation, but I'll throw about 2 to 3 to 4 dozen decoys out, which makes it easier for everybody and also is extremely effective. So we've discussed the U-shaped decoy spread and how it can be extremely effective with the wind to your back. But as we discussed, sometimes we don't have perfect hunting conditions and we can't get the wind to our back, and a lot of times we're gonna be hunting crosswind situations. So this is what I like to do with the crosswind situations. It brings me to my second decoy spread, which is what I call the J hook. A lot of times we're gonna have a crosswind situation where we're gonna have to figure something out, and the U-shape doesn't really work as well because the birds are gonna have to come across one side of that U to land in the decoys. So what I like to do is what I call a J hook, okay? The long end of the hook, as you guys are seeing here, is gonna go away from the wind. And then the bend of the J is gonna be right in front of the blind, whatever the blind is. Again, guys, the idea is that this is your kill hole. Just like at the U-shaped decoy spread, this is gonna be the kill hole at the bend of the J. So what we want the bend of the J to be is an easily shot range. It's straight in front of the blind, so everybody in the blind can get up and get a shot. So 10 to 15 yards away, the long end of the J is gonna go away from the wind, and then the bend of the J is gonna go right in front of the boat or the blind somewhere pretty close. And so what those birds are gonna do is they're gonna be circling into that crosswind, and they're gonna go way away from you and then come into the wind, and they're gonna ride that long part of the J, but that hook is gonna cut them off. In theory, they're gonna land right in front of you, which is right where you want them to be, and that's why we do that J hook with the wind coming from a crosswind situation. Now this works extremely well in sloughs, but also it works very well in big water, what I call big water. Maybe you're hunting on a main river channel, on a shallow bar. A lot of times in that situation, you're gonna have a crosswind. These divers especially, they're gonna be looking at this J hook, and we know that they like to fly really low to the decoy spread, and they will run a line is what I call it. I call it they'll fly a line, okay? They get real low to the decoys and they'll ride a real long way on top of your decoys, a lot of times leading them straight to you. Now for this reason, the J hook situation is extremely effective on big water. Like I said, you're gonna be hunting a crosswind more than likely, and you've got a big raft of birds somewhere that you're probably hunting. And one thing this J hook does is it allows you to get your decoy spreads way away from the blind, which sometimes can stop those birds from landing short. We've all been there. We've all been out on big water somewhere, and these birds are landing 50 yards outside the decoy spread. And as frustrating as that is, sometimes I can extend that decoy spread out and get them to come in just a little bit closer, just inside kill range, and be able to kill them that way. So a lot of these can be manipulated to a certain situation, but that's what I've found to be effective, especially on the diver front, where wind matters a little bit less than when the puddle ducks happen. But what do we do when we're hunting finicky birds, and sometimes, you know, these birds are just spotting us or they've been here a long time? Guys, we got to remember, by the time Alabama and the South gets their season, they've come all the way from Canada being shot at all the way down. So a lot of times these birds are finicky even early in the season. So one thing I do to combat this is what I call the pod spread. Pod spread is, as you're looking at right now, when you go scouting and you see some birds in a formation similar to this, where they're just packed everywhere, and what you're seeing, guys, right now is a lot of motion. Ducks are moving quick, and they're kind of segmented off into little groups. They're just moving a lot, and they're in a bunch of different groups, and that's where the pod spread can be extremely effective. So the pod spread works for these finicky birds because it looks more natural to what you're seeing when you're scouting. So the idea is to match what you're seeing. So what I'll do is, sometimes when you pull up to a spot and you're scouting and you find some, there may be 10 gadwall off to the left, 20 mallards in the middle, and, you know, 5 or 6 pintail off to the right, and then some filler ducks. You guys know, you've been there before. This situation allows you to mimic that and also create multiple kill holes. Sometimes those birds can be finicky on one kill hole. You give them multiple options, sometimes they will actually be more inclined to come in for you. So the pod spread can be laid out multiple different ways, sometimes in the shape of a W if you're a shape oriented person, or sometimes just, you know, 5 or 6 over here, 5 or 6 over there with a bunch of motion and a bunch of big holes for those ducks to be able to choose as they're coming in which spot they want to land. Now in this situation, since we don't know exactly where they're going to land, we do have to have a plan on how we're going to jump up and shoot them. But giving them options sometimes can go a long way, especially coupled with a lot of motion. Guys, in the pod spread, I'm going to be throwing my mojos, I'm going to be throwing my jerk strings, and I'm going to be throwing my agitators and any sort of butt up decoys you can find, because a lot, as you're seeing in this clip now, there's a lot of birds habitat that this video was filmed, and also the habitat that I hunt a lot. You're going to see a lot of butt ups. Those birds are going down chewing on rocks, chewing on shell beds, or just plain eating, and that's the situation that we're in. So a lot of these agitators and things go a long way, especially in the pod spread, to get that done for you. So guys, when you're scouting, you can pay attention to the way they're grouped together, and then simply try to mimic that with your decoy spread. It doesn't take a lot of decoys. You could do this with 2 or 3 or 4 dozen decoys, but that decoy system can be extremely effective, especially late in the year when those birds are kind of finicky. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about. That's when I start putting down the duck calls. I don't blow them as much, and we start backing off a lot of the aggressive tactics and start going more finesse. This is a decoy spread that I would choose to deploy in this situation. So there you have it, guys. 3 decoy spreads that I use and that I've found to be most effective over the years of my hunting experience. So guys, if you like this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel. There's going to be more duck hunting content coming your way. If you're like me, you're excited. The duck season is coming up in Alabama and all the states that I hunt in. It's getting very close. So guys, if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Share this video to somebody that needs to see it, and I will see you on the next video.